top house, except it was much smaller, and where they had wheels, this one had floats like twin canoes. It was a mouse-sized seaplane, and when it touched down on the waves nearby, Pedro saw there was a mouse at the controls. The mouse slid open the plane's canopy and scrambled out to stand on one of the floats. "Here!" he shouted. "Catch!" And he threw Pedro a rubber lifebelt attached to a long piece of string. Pedro grabbed the ring in his front paws and towed the suitcase behind him with his tail as the mouse pilot hauled him towards the plane. Soon he was close enough to scramble up onto one of its floats. "You're lucky I saw you," said the pilot. "Where on earth have you come from?" "From Hilltop, ha," said Pedro, who was very, very cold. "Sounds like we'd better get you somewhere warm and dry," said the pilot. "Hop aboard." Pedro was too cold to really hop, but he climbed into the seat behind the pilots and sat there dripping and shivering. "My name's Fledermaus," said the pilot, straightening his goggles. "Hold on tight." The engine roared. The plane began to rush across the sea. The biggest wave Pedro had ever seen loomed over it, but just as the wave started to break, the plane's floats lifted from the water and it zoomed up into the air. "Thank you so much," said Pedro. "My name's Pedro. I came looking for adventures, but I don't think I like them after all." "Looking for adventures?" said Fledermaus, who hadn't heard the rest over the buzz of the engine. "Well then, Pedro, you've come to the right place." He pointed down at the sea, which shone like crinkly gold foil in the light of the setting sun. Scattered across it was a sprinkling of tiny islands. "Welcome to the Mouse Islands," shouted Fledermaus, and the plane swooped towards them through the golden light. Chapter 2. The Mouse Base. As they flew over the islands, Pedro glimpsed mouse-sized houses on some of them, and little mouse boats crossing the stretches of calmer sea between them. Most were no larger than big rocks, really, but when you're a mouse, a big rock feels like a whole island. Some even had patches of grass on their summits and tiny little lakes. Fledermaus flew down to one where a single large building stood, and set the plane down on a pool beside a jetty made from old lolly sticks. "Come on, Pedro," he said. "Come and meet the others." Fledermaus tied the plane up, and they scurried together into the building and up the stairs to the topmost floor. A group of mice had gathered there to watch the sunset. "Evening all," said Fledermaus. "I found a shipwrecked mouse. Well, more suitcase-wrecked, really. He'll need dry clothes, a mug of cocoa, and some supper." "We're the AdventureMice," he explained to Pedro as the mice bustled into action. "This is Ivy. She invented all the engines and things that make our boats go. Believe it or not, my seaplane was just a toy until Ivy got to work on it. She's brilliant at making gadgets and machines and keeping everything running. Without Ivy, we'd all be grounded." "Yes, indeed," said Ivy, who was a plump mouse in orange dungarees and a polka-dot headscarf. She handed Pedro a warm sweater to wear instead of his soggy one. "But boats and planes wouldn't be much use without brave mice to sail and fly them." "And that's where the rest of us come in," said Fledermaus, leading Pedro over to a nice comfy chair. "This is Bosun, who's the bravest ship's mouse that ever sailed the 7 seas. "Welcome aboard, laddie," said a burly brown mouse, pressing a mug of hot cocoa into Pedro's paws. "This is Juniper, who explores the deep in her submarine." "It's lovely down there," said a mouse wearing spectacles and a woolly stripy jumper.